Hello students, today we are going to discuss the Biology Chapter 1 Sensations and Responses 10th Kerala Syllabus English Medium. So in this chapter we are going to study the various sensations in our body, that is vision, hearing, touch, taste and smell, and how these senses are processing in our body. So we can go detail into the chapter. So, the picture in your textbook shows many childs are experiencing different kinds of sensations. Here, the child is experiencing the sensation of a snail, and here the girl is tasting a mango. Here, the child is washing her face with the cold water. Then these childs are visualizing the birds, and they can sense the smell here also. So these are the various kinds of sensations we have, that are vision, smell, touch, hearing, etc. So the majority, we have 5 sense organs in our body, human body. So they are eye, skin, ear, nose and tongue. Eye is used for sight, and skin is used for touch response, and ear is used for hearing, nose is used for smelling, and tongue is used for tasting. And then we have to study what is stimuli and impulses. The senses that evoke responses in organisms are called stimuli. These stimuli are coming from the environment. They may be in the form of sight, any sound waves, etc. So these are the inputs from the environment that can evoke the senses in our body. Okay. Then there are specialized cells in the sense organs and other parts of the body to receive stimuli. These cells are called receptors. Receptors are the ones that can receive the stimuli. Okay, so our eye, ear, etc. possess these receptors. Okay, then they receive the stimuli and generate suitable impulses. And normally the responses occur when the impulses generated by the receptors on receiving the stimuli reach the brain, and the nervous system controls and coordinates these actions. So if we get a sight, the photoreceptors in our eye get stimulated. So the sight is a stimuli, and the receptors present in the eye are stimulated. Okay, then they will create a impulse that will transfer into the brain, and brain will process the image, or that will process the stimuli and give back a response. Okay, so our nervous system, that includes brain, spinal cord and various nerves distributed throughout our body, are controlling and coordinates these actions. Then we have to study the structure of neuron. Neuron or nerve cell is the basic unit of nervous system. Like all other cells, the neuron has cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. Let us go detail into its neuron structure. You have to study the structure of the neuron by drawing also. Maybe exams, you will get questions for drawing these neurons. So it is a simple structure, and we can study detail into each and every parts of the neuron. Okay. First one is the dendrite. Dendrites are the branches of dendron which receives the stimuli. Okay, so it can also receive the impulses from the adjacent neuron. Then it will transfer this dendrites, these branches of dendron, that is dendrites, then transfer this impulses into the dendron. Dendron are the short filament from the cell body which carries impulses from the dendrites to the cell body. So now the impulses are in the cell body. Then this cell body contains a nucleus also. Then the cell body transfers the impulses into the long filamentous parts of the neuron, that is axon. It is the longest filament from the cell body. Then it carries impulses from the cell body to the outside. Okay. Then this axon is covered by Schwann cells which encircles the axon. Then this axon will end at axonite. Axonites are the branches of the axons which carries impulses into the synaptic nerve. Synaptic nerves are found as the nerves terminal to the axonite, and these are the tip of the axonite and which can secrete the neurotransmitter. This will further facilitate the transfer of impulses into the next neuron. So these are the structures of neuron, that is dendrite, dendron, Schwann cells, axon, axonite and synaptic nerve. Okay. Then we have to study the myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is the covering membrane containing lipid of the Schwann cells. Okay, these Schwann cells are made up of myelin sheaths. They are act as insulators. They cannot conduct the impulses. So when these are insulating the axons, hence the impulse transmission will be higher in or it will be fast, more fast in the axon. So this is the structure of myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is a phospholipid lipid containing membrane which encircles, which forms the Schwann cells, and in the center of this there is axon. So and this is very important in the fast conduction of the impulses. Then we have to study the oligodendrocytes and Schwann cells in detail. So oligodendrocytes and Schwann cells provide protection to the neurons. These are insulating this axon. Okay, then an oligodendrocyte constructs myelin sheath by covering the different axons simultaneously or by covering the different parts of the same axon repeatedly. Myelin sheath made up of Schwann cells are seen in the axons in nerves. A Schwann cell encircles the axon repeatedly. We have seen that in the picture. Then, nerve is a group of axons. Then, myelin sheath in the brain and the spinal cord is formed of specialized cells called oligodendrocytes. The myelin sheath has a shiny white color. The part of the brain and the spinal cord where myelinated nerve cells are present in abundance is called white matter. And the part where non-myelinated nerve cells are present are called gray matter, because they lack the amount of myelin sheath, so there will be no much white color, so it may be referred as gray matter. Okay, then the major functions of the myelin sheath are to provide nutrients and oxygen to the axon, accelerate impulses, act as an electric insulator, and protects the axon from external shocks. Okay, you have seen this structure of oligodendrocytes in the recent picture also. Then we have to study the generation and transmission of impulses. How a impulse is formed in a nerve cell. Okay, so in the picture you can refer this picture also. The nervous system manages and controls and coordinates through impulses. The outer surface of the plasma membrane of the neuron is positively charged and inner surface is negatively charged. This is due to the difference in the distribution of certain ions. You can see this in the first figure. Here, this is a plasma membrane of a neuron. Here, the outer surface is positively charged and inner surface is negatively charged due to the distribution of particular ions. Then, when stimulated, the distribution of ions in that particular part changes, and hence the inner surface becomes positively charged and the outer surface becomes negatively charged. Here, the composition is changed upon a stimulus. When a stimuli comes, the positive charged particles in the outer surface are shifted into the inner surface, and inner negative charge is shifted into the outer surface due to the change in the distribution of ions upon the stimulus. So there is a change occurred in this plasma membrane ion composition. This momentary charge difference stimulates its adjacent parts and similar changes occur there too. As this process proceeds, impulses get transmitted as electric charges. Nerve impulses are messages transmitted through the neurons. So this stimuli has changed the ion composition of the plasma membrane of nerve cell or neuron. Hence, it can be considered as an impulse. So this change is itself the impulse. So here the impulse is generated and this is transmitted to the nearby part. Here also the ion composition changes, and likewise the impulse is transmitted. So this is how a impulse is generated and transmitted in a nerve cell. Okay, then this impulse transmission will be very faster, and this is actually helping in the control and coordination of nervous activities. Then we have to study detail into the structure called synapse. Synapse is the junction between two adjacent neurons. Okay, so impulses generated in the receptor reaches the brain. The brain analyzes it and gives direction for proper response. To make this response, the impulses formed in the neuron are to be transmitted to other neurons and associated cells. Okay, the impulses have to be transmitted from one neuron to another. Synapse is the junction between two neurons, or a neuron and a muscle cell, or a neuron and a glandular cell. So synapse is the junction that may be between two neurons, or this may be here one neuron and here a muscle cell will be there. So that is also called, that junction is also called synapse. And in case here there will be a neuron and here will be a glandular cell which secretes a hormone. So in such cases, that is neuron to neuron, neuron to muscle and neuron to glandular cell connection junctions are known as synapse. When electric impulse from the axon reaches the synaptic knob, certain chemical substances are secreted from there to the synaptic cleft. Okay, so when the impulses are reached at the synaptic knob, there will be certain neurotransmitters. That these are the chemicals which are released into this synaptic cleft that will actually carry these impulses into the dendrite of next neuron, or into the next muscle, or into the next glandular cell. Okay, these chemical substances are called neurotransmitters. They stimulate the adjacent dendrite, or new electric impulses are generated in the next neuron. Acetylcholine and dopamine are examples of neurotransmitters. These are present in our body, acetylcholine and dopamines. Then synapse helps to regulate the speed and direction of impulses. So actually the direction and the speed is regulated by the synapse. Okay. Then these are the various synapses. This is nerve to nerve synapse, and this is nerve to glandular cell synapse, muscle cell synapse, and this is nerve to glandular cell synapse. So these are the three kinds of synapses. Then we have to study what are the different types of neurons. On the basis of direction of impulse, neurons can be classified into sensory neurons and motor neurons. Sensory neurons carry impulses to the brain and spinal cord, while motor neurons carry impulses from the brain and spinal cord to various parts of the body. So here the direction is changing. Sensory neurons carrying impulses from the sense organs to the brain or the spinal cord, and motor neurons are carrying impulses from the brain and spinal cord to the affected sense organ or various parts of the body. Okay. Then we can study what is nerve. Nerve, we know that nerve is the group of axons or nerve fibers. They are connected by a connective tissue. So to form a nerve, there will be lot of neurons. So these axons are tightly packed within a connective tissue. Okay, so this forms a nerve. So there will be a group of nerve axons or nerve fibers inside a nerve. Then we have to study, we have already discussed the sensory neurons, motor neurons, etc. So we have to study details of the functions of these neurons. So nerves are classified into three based on their functions. First one is sensory nerve, formed of sensory nerve fibers, which carries impulses from various parts of the body to the brain and spinal cord. So this is to the brain and spinal cord. Its function is to carry impulses from the sense organ to the brain or spinal cord. Then motor nerves, that is formed of many motor nerve fibers, which carry impulses from brain and spinal cord to various parts of the body. Then mixed nerve, that is formed of sensory nerve fibers and motor nerve fibers. As the name indicates, it is a mixed nerve which carries impulses to and from the brain and spinal cord. There is a connection between brain and spinal cord that will be facilitated by mixed nerve fibers. Okay. Then we have to study detail about the nervous system. Nervous system consists of two parts, namely central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system contains brain and spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system contains the nerves from the brain and nerves from the spinal cord. Nerves from the brain are known as cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves in our human body, And spinal nerves are the nerves that are distributed throughout the body and that are emerged from the spinal cord, or known as spinal nerves. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves in our body. So the nervous system is classified into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system contains brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system contains cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Cranial nerves will be 12 pairs in human and spinal nerves will be 31 pairs in humans. So we have to study details into the brain. So we can study this portion in the next class. Thank you.